And I'll briefly introduce myself. I'm Rachel Heilmann, as Enon said. I'm the Director of Research. I think he's given me a little too much credit, but I'm not a scientist by background. I am a pharmacist, clinical pharmacist, which in the United States is a little different than how it's structured in Spain. But I've worked alongside physicians in the clinic for almost 15 years. I do not have a child with MED13L. I was a parent of a child with an ultra rare disease who passed away from it in 2021. So my background is very much clinical in nature. I've had the pleasure of meeting Enon and his son Leon, who is just so lovely, and many MED13L families, and I find a lot of joy in being able to interact with them. So I have a few slides, many of which Enon touched on already, but also wanted to highlight a few new things that we're focused on this year in terms of funding to kind of continue to build our toolkit. So I'm going to share my screen here, and so hopefully that will show up on your side of things. Okay, here we go. I think this will work. I'm going to see if it pops up there. Did that show up then for everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. Except I can't seem to get this in full form. I'm not used to Google. I don't want to annotate. Hold on. Let me see if I can. There we go. Can I get in there? Oh, no. Wait, here we go. There we go. There. That should be better for everybody, right? Okay. That's what we're going with. So yeah, Enon already touched on a few of these things, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things that he actually mentioned. So this strategic roadmap really captures everything that the MED13L Foundation in the United States is working on. Obviously, however we can do to collaborate across the world and include a diverse portfolio of science and researchers is our ultimate goal. He mentioned Dr. Alicia Campbell was able to recently publish a gene reviews here with Dr. Bain, which is a huge win for the community and hopefully for clinicians around the world. And then we also, I want to highlight this disease concept model, which we did in partnership with a genetic counseling student and Rutgers University in Combined Brain. That our Kayla, who was our student who worked on this, will be presenting this at our summer meeting this year. And then hopefully we'll be looking for a publication. So we're very excited about that. And then in addition to our natural history study, which Enon also mentioned, which will also launch this summer at our meeting. But ultimately, this kind of highlights how we're going to get to clinical trial readiness and ultimate preparation for being able to test therapeutics. So a reminder, if anybody can make it this summer, I know it's a long journey across the Atlantic, but we will be outside of Boston, Massachusetts from July, actually it's the 9th now through the 12th. We had to back it up a date to allow for in-person evaluations, and we're doing it in collaboration with CTNNB1, Connect and Cure. CTNNB1 has some biological crossover, and then also just clinically, a lot of our children have very similar symptoms, and so this was one reason why we wanted to partner with them to be able to have an opportunity to have some community collaboration, even outside of MED13L related disorders directly. Again, Enon highlighted this. We're so excited to have met many of you on some of our other calls, and congratulations for organizing this so quickly and coming together. And we want to continue to hopefully partner across the world to grow that collaboration with families and researchers and clinicians. And Enon mentioned this, but I wanted just to highlight a couple of things. I know Simon Searchlight's going to talk about what it is in their data. We also have Sophia Ambrose has joined me this morning. She's a She's a pre-med student at Columbia, so she's going to work with myself and Dr. Bain this summer to actually mine some of that Simon Searchlight data. So we're very excited about that, just to add to some of the publications that are in the space. And then clinically, that really helps to kind of fill some of the gaps in understanding of what MED13L symptoms are across, many children. And I just wanted to, this is our quick highlight of Rare X data that Enon mentioned. So we're just over 100 right now across the globe, as you can see, which is amazing. And we also have Seth Khan, who is mining that data for us. He's actually just finished analyzing it. We have just over 60 genetic reports, and so that's what we're going to be including in the literature, but this will be one of the largest collections of data that is just submitted directly by MED13L families and caregivers. And he also will be presenting this summer along with Sophia. So I think that's part of one of our goals, or my goals, is to ensure that we're continuing to mentor and bring on board young clinicians and investigators, and so that they're understanding and seeing MED13L and hopefully investing in us as a community for the future. So that it's very, very exciting to have some really young clinicians that are partnering with us this summer and hopefully beyond, to bring more publications to the literature, and also be able to interact and understand what our families are, and be able to connect with some of our scientific researchers as well. Developing centers of excellence. I wanted to touch on this real quickly. So this is really about providing better care to MED13L families here in the US. We'd love to be able to, as we're growing and partnering with our international community, be able to add and build into that. This really allows MED13L families to seek care through a collection of clinicians at facilities where they're going to receive the most comprehensive care. So we just started developing these relationships. One is here at University of Texas Southwestern, which is in the Dallas area in Texas, CHOP, which is Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And then Enon recently connected with some acquaintances that he's met here at NYU. And so these are three institutions here in the US that are starting to see our MED13L families. And so as they start to see them, then we can get a better picture of what the spectrum of this disorder really looks like. And hopefully that'll lead to not just more, publications and presentations, but as we look at MED13L as a whole and how it's impacting our families as a whole, is how to orchestrate better care and make sure everybody is being evaluated head to toe, and having the interventions that that your kids need to thrive. Enon already mentioned this, but it is a huge deal to get a natural history study up and running. Here in the US, it is required by FDA as part of requirements for approval of drugs, at least new novel molecules. Ideally, thinking long term, we'd love to be able to align this internationally with other centers who are doing the same study, so that we're really comparing the type of data we're collecting, the clinical data we're collecting, and build on clinical outcome measures so that we can measure changes through therapeutic interventions. A couple of other studies I'm going to mention real quickly that we're going to do, actually starting at Boston at our summer meeting, is an EEG biomarker study. This is actually a continuation of a Simon study from Baltimore in 2022. So Dr. Caitlin Hudak just presented this at our November meeting. I think we had a handful of community members from Spain join us for that meeting as well. But this is to really expand on that, gather more data, and to really look at EEGs to see if there's a similar pattern that we can see across children. this would allow us, again, once you apply an intervention, to see if that would resolve. It doesn't mean that those kids necessarily present with seizures, only that there's a certain pattern on the EEG that might lend itself to shifting or changing with an intervention. So we're very excited to have Caitlin join us in Boston and her team to continue to gather this data. And then the last one that I'm super excited about is speech phenotyping, or that clinical evaluation of speech in kids with MED13L. Marissa Mitchell, who was also part of that initial Simons researcher team in 2022. It's in pre-publication, just put out a public pre-pub for the work that she did there collecting. I think you all know, speech and communication is one of the major challenges that many children with MED13L face. And so by really understanding the mechanism or how children are speaking or communicating, including apraxia of speech and dysarthria of speech, one, it helps for earlier interventions in terms of speech therapy and different focuses on how to capitalize and make speech a little bit better from the very beginning in kids with MED13L. And hopefully long-term, again, we can use those to develop those outcome measures to help shift and change the impact of speech and communication that MED13L children have. So very excited that Marissa will also be in Boston to start gathering this information from individuals with MED13L. So we're very excited about that as well. I'm not going to spend much time on the next few slides. These are all continuations of grants that we've worked on with the Grutter Lab in Iowa, and Chad will talk about that. And then also the mitochondria research that Dr. Randy Strick and the recently appointed Dr. Alicia Campbell have also been working on. So they will both talk about their research related to both of those things here. We're getting ready to revalidate proteomics, which is a biomarker. Again, we're looking for different types of protein that might be dysregulated in kids with MED13L. We'll be continuing to collect those samples at Boston this summer. And again, just trying to validate the initial readout that was given last year. So drug repurposing, Enon mentioned this as well. The other thing that we're going to do this summer is an Unravel Bio project. This is actually just done with nasal swabs. So these are all indirect ways of, or this is an indirect pathway, so might not have direct effect on MED13L, but some downstream effects that based on the drugs that come back, might alter some of those biological paths, and then could potentially have some symptom relief, and just have a little bit more, help your kids have a little bit more, reach more potential but not necessarily focusing on a cure there. We're obviously still working on some of the mitochondrial rescue drugs and some of the other therapeutics that Enon mentioned as well. And then the next thing that the foundation is invested in is characterizations of neuron development. So we know MED13L is responsible, it works in the brain, and which is why we see all sort of head to toe symptoms. And so this is a really important and crucial step that we start to bridge, is to understand how the neurons are developing in humans. And so we have 4 lines, including a control line that has gone to new site, where they're going to work on growing neurons, both GABA, which is sort of that slowing neuron, and then glutamatergic neurons, which is sort of the fast firing neuron. So we hope to have a lot more information about how those neurons are developing, how those synapses are developing, how they might be firing by the end of the year. And then Enon mentioned this as well. We're in very, very early stages of this for gene-based therapeutics. This will work directly on MED13L itself. And so we have a lot further to go here, but we have a project undergoing with an ASO, or an antisense oligonucleotide, actually with Chad's lab partner or wall sharer, I'm not sure, at least at University of Iowa, and we're working through starting the one for CRISPR-A, which is another modality at University of California in San Francisco. And then ultimately, we, as Enon mentioned, we really are hoping to grow our network of scientists and clinicians across the world and have a diverse portfolio of collaborators to help elevate MED13L research and really help understand not just how MED13L is affecting, your children, but even how that might be, having downstream effects. I'm throwing the ICD-10 code up. Again, this is still, I just looked at this yesterday. This is still not active in the World Health Organization, which is what is necessary, I think, for clinicians around the world to be able to code for this. I believe they're rolling out the ICD-11 next iteration this year. So it looks like there's a plan for that in place. So I'm hoping that clinicians in Spain and France around the world will be able to now code for, as they're seeing kids with MED13L or young adults with MED13L, a specific code and diagnosis, which will be very helpful. And that's it. We really are just so thankful that we've been able to connect with many of you already, and looking forward to a partnership and elevating MED13L across the globe moving forward.